Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wealth Transfer. Biblical principles, global economics to protect and preserve your family's wealth in the days ahead. We better make sure we're looking towards that. My name is Terry Saka. I'm Chief Strategist at Cornerstone, and I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance. Charles, welcome.
We're glad that you're along today, Terry. Really appreciate you guys joining us today. Hope you'll stay around for the next 30 minutes. Going to get into some things that, some stuff's going on in the world. Some crazy stuff going on over in the Middle East.
Saudi Arabia is what we're going to go into. We're going to continue to talk about, because Saudi Arabia is controlling basically our standard of living as we know it. We left off last week.
And they're doing that because we made an agreement with them a few years ago, several years ago, that if we would protect them militarily, that they would sell all of their oil, somebody would have to give them U.S. dollars to do it.
Yes.
So it's put a bunch more of our money in circulation.
It's the petrodollar.
Are we protecting them, by the way?
Oh, absolutely. I really believe...
We have military bases in Saudi Arabia?
I believe we went... Oh, we did, yes, and we still do. But I believe we went to war in Iraq for that reason. I believe they asked us because Saddam Hussein was trouble, and we did it for that reason. I just do. I believe we were...
a gut feeling, not a news.
That's a gut feeling. I have a feeling even Syria, we tried to enter in the Syrian war because they asked us, and I just know they're controlling us. And let's do this. Let's go right into redefine it so people can understand it again, because they miss it. Let's go. We're going to do this petrodollar. Show you the visual again one more time. We did it last week, but I just want to do it real quick for people who have never seen a petrodollar or are new to this week. Because the petrodollar is the key. Right there, petrodollar means foreign currency has to buy American dollars to buy oil. Every country in the world. Now let's go to the next one. The increase in oil demand and the need for people to buy dollars increases demand for dollars, which then gives us a standard of living. Now this deal has been going on for 40 years, plus a little more. And this last image is who put the deal together. These are the players. Henry Kissinger on the left from the United States, our President Nixon, and with an occult symbol there of his two fingers. And then we have the Saudi in the middle. The petrodollar is breaking down, though. You can end that. This was done back when we came off the gold standard in the 70s. The world knew that we were basically insolvent, and we were shipping all the gold home because our paper dollars were coming back. They didn't want the paper anymore. They wanted the real gold back. And we came off the gold standard and we tricked the world in letting them know that, hey, we don't need gold anyway. We're good for it. It's good faith and credit of a handshake, one of those like, hey, don't worry about it. I got you covered. And that's what we've been doing for about 40 years. Now, granted, it worked pretty good. But of course it worked good because we printed trillions and trillions of fake paper U.S. Federal Reserve notes. Of course it made us seem like we were wealthy. Everyone has credit lines, credit cards, bank loans, right? All with fake Federal Reserve notes. So see, a lot of us don't want this to go away because it's kind of like our standard of living. I'm just telling you it's going away to an extent without our permission because this petrodollar is that important. The youth in Saudi Arabia are so restless. The kingdom is on the verge of breaking down. They're at a big war with Yemen that Iran is sneaking into. And then, of course, we just did this treaty with Iran, right? And Iran's going to use all that money we're going to give them. Why we're giving them money is unbelievable, but we keep talking about that. It's a dead one now. We seem to be doing it. They're going to use those billions to attack our friends Saudis and then go after Israel and control the Middle East with Russia and China. And this is happening right now, so it's not like this is one of those hypotheticals. It's taking place as we're speaking. So the kingdom's back is against the wall. They're either going to have to negotiate with the Russians and the Iranians, or somehow, I don't know. I think they're going to go down. I think the kingdom goes down. Now, the kingdom goes down, so does the OPEC deal. And the OPEC deal is what protects we the people.
Terry, what's going on with the price of oil? Because it's been kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it cut over in half in the last year.
Oh, sure.
What's that doing?
Well, mainly the reason oil dropped, there's a lot of argument, but there's two components. One, the global economy is in a depression.
Okay.
We really are in a depression, but They're not telling you. The numbers say we're pretty much in a depression.
Well, almost all natural resources are down.
Because economies aren't doing very good. Our world economy, our world economic system is so bad, Charles, that Europe and Japan are in negative interest rates, basically meaning they're charging you to keep your money in the bank.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because they want you to spend it because their economies are so bad.
So they know that if we can keep, or if they can keep currency in circulation, it'll cause the system to be propped up.
That's
the
what they're
financial
hopefully
system.
trying to do. Now, they printed trillions of dollars to do that, and it's not working.
So that's one of the reasons that the news medias that are controlled by the elite people wants to let you know or wants to make you think that everything's okay.
That's correct.
Because
right.
if people get scared, one of the first things they do is start hoarding and holding on to what they've got instead of spending.
We call that the velocity of money. And the
Okay.
velocity of money, meaning, yes, exactly that. People hoard the money to them, and they don't spend it. The velocity of money is so low, it's the lowest point on record.
Is it really?
Yep, next to almost back to the beginning of all this.
So right now really would be the ideal time to buy
oh, there's no doubt about that.
natural resources.
Yeah, there is no doubt about
things
that.
that God made.
Getting out of this junk and into God's is really vital, because what you're saying is when you get out of something, you want to kind of do the opposite.
Sure.
If everybody's up here, you want to go down here, right?
The things that God, and we've talked about this numerous times, but land and food and water and silver and gold and things that are tangible that you can actually get your hands on are always going to be something that you can trade for something else that's tangible.
Yeah.
Not a piece of IOU
No,
paper.
and the world teaches that, you know, gold and silver is a risky investment, and the irony is it's always been the best thing you could have
That's like
held.
property and food would be a risky investment.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's only so much of it.
I know, and you know, every day we battle with people that don't understand, and they're afraid to move out of currency into silver money and silver, and it amazes me because they just don't understand that our real money, this says silver certificate on it. This was when they were exchanged, they were equal. Our money constitutional means grains of silver. So what people don't understand is
gone,
that,
hasn't it?
of course.
Yeah.
But we as Christians are putting our faith in a Federal Reserve note. And we should be ashamed of ourselves,
I
really.
think what's ironic about it is the people that are in the financial system call this fiat.
Yeah.
Now, one of the first seminars that I did years ago in Canada had an interpreter in a French-speaking church, and when I said fiat, she didn't know what I was talking about. And I said fake. They use terms so that we don't know what they're saying.
Right.
So when the news or the financial people say this is fiat, they'll say it openly. I've heard them say it openly, and they act like, well, okay, and then we move on, and the people don't realize they're saying this is fake.
To them, it's a technical term, and it's no big deal. We are basically going hands down, all in on paper. We're saying gold is no longer money, and this is where the Keynesian Western economics is making a stand. All I'm telling you is, I'm the mailman. So as Charles always used to say when it comes to the gospel, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just merely telling you what's going on. The reason I say shameful is because the Bible says dishonest weight and measures are an abomination.
That means disgusting
Right.
to God.
Honest scales are a delight. Honest scales, because 1 ounce is 1 ounce, you can't fake it, you can't make it. And the irony is, since we've come off the 70s, since we come off the gold standard when these were equal, $100,000 of these in the 70s is still worth $100,000. But it doesn't buy the same, does it? Not even close, right? $100,000 of these in the 70s, if you would have, instead of stuck with these, you would have stored your wealth in what was our dollar. That $100,000 in silver today, 1.7 million.
17 times the increase.
1.7 million since we came off 100,000. What do you want in your wallet? All I'm saying is you need to get information and be protected and be educated, because it's not changing. It has never changed since then. Even in the last 10 years, it's been the place to be. And with what's coming in the Middle East, with what's coming now that Russia, China, and Iran have formed this Tri-Lateral, of very wicked, evil intentions against we in the West, we better get prepared because there's something really creepy about this. And it goes in right to Lucifer, if you know what I mean. So get educated, get protected, and here's a good place to get started.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, this is so important on the petrodollar. We've done a few series on it. We've discussed the impact. What you're seeing now, firsthand for yourself, with the Russians invading Syria, the Chinese and the Iranians backing them up, is the actual, let's just say, move against the dollar and the expansion of the Silk Road that we've been talking about for months. It actually is starting. So we've been warning about this for 6 months to a year, and you're seeing it firsthand for yourself. So it's important to understand because not only does it force, as Charles was saying, all these dollars to come home, it forces the other countries to start selling our U.S. Treasuries, our bonds. Right now, in the last 6 months, the Chinese and the other top holders of our bonds and treasuries have been dumping them at unbelievable rates. I should have brought in a graph of it, but the Chinese themselves, they're dumping out. The Russians almost have no treasuries left.
Now, when you're talking about treasuries and bonds, you're talking about bonds that the United States sells.
IOUs, yeah, the IOUs where the United States issues a bond.
They're redeeming them.
They're selling them, redeeming them. They're basically saying, I don't want it anymore.
Right.
They're getting out of it.
Well, because we're so far in debt as a country,
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. I don't want to do business with people that's so far in debt that it's impossible to bail themselves out.
Well, and not even just that, Charles. They're selling them because they know this is ready to crash.
If in this, I don't want this to go off real far somewhere, is Russia, China, and Iran, and whoever else might come into that group of people, will they be developing a common currency, do you think, at some point?
I don't know. Well, Russians were working on it, so they may.
Oh, they were.
But the Chinese are probably going to lead with their own.
Okay.
I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a massive yuan petro. Or petro yuan.
Okay.
Is where I could see that go. But the Russians and Iranians are very oil dependent. The Chinese need the oil. So there's a very common ground there.
Sure.
So Russians and the Iranians need to sell oil for their country.
And they're all there close together.
Of course. They're neighbors.
Yeah.
If Russia and Iran need to sell their oil, China needs to buy the oil, then controlling the Middle East makes sense. So, but if they're controlling the Middle East, what happens to the petrodollar?
At the very least, they'll probably be exchanging their own money for the oil. That's
exactly what just happened. Russia and China just did a major energy deal for gas, big natural gas thing. $400 billion deal. It was in an American dollar because, remember, the Russians, the Chinese would buy an American dollar and do the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were putting sanctions on Russia and leaning on the world, they in the middle of this deal, they said, you know what, forget the dollar. We're going to do it in our own currency.
So they're exchanging their own currency to one another
First
now.
time. And they
Wow.
just did it. Now, mind you, we forced that to happen. We forced that to happen. We, America, forced the Russians and Chinese to do this in their own currency.
Did they think that that was going to happen, or did they think maybe we can just push them over to a point that they'll have to use our currency?
I appreciate you doing that. Probably a little of both. I think they really did think they could push them around and they wouldn't do it. But we should be smarter than that, you know, and not be so arrogant and so brazen, you know. So we pushed them to do it. We are lifting the sanctions on Iran, allowing tens of billions of dollars to go to Iran that's going to support this relationship. They think that doing this deal with Iran opens our corporations up to do business in Iran. They're just ignorant to the idea, or naive to, or plotting that given all this to Iran and with Russia and China, it's going to force the takedown of the petro.
With the American troops moving out, pretty much cleared out of Iraq.
Yeah, and Afghanistan. For the most part,
those three countries are probably going to do their best to move in just either rapidly or just smoothly to take control of those countries.
And what's
aren't they, as far
beautiful
as the
about it,
trade?
absolutely, after the United Nations meeting here, after the Shemitah ended, which in the Four Blood Moon stuff, which is fascinating because all this stuff happened so quietly, but yet it was so profoundly impacting, Charles. When Russia moved into Syria like that, right after all this happened, Chinese troops and warships moved to Syria, and Iran positioned in Iraq. It happened like it was just a blip on the news. The problem is, it was the most dramatic policy shift in the history of the Western world in the last 40, 50 years. And it's going to directly impact, if we lose this petrodollar, we only control the SWIFT financials, which we got into the last few shows. We lose that, we lose global influence. We already do, by the way, because they're not listening to us anymore, right? And because we didn't really want Russia to go in and do that, but yet they did it anyway, and what are we doing? Oh, okay, well, I guess we'll just leave. So we don't have any influence. They're not afraid of us anymore. They're not afraid of American might. They know we're walking away. Now, what does that mean? Where's your standard of living? I'm going to show you a video. Now, this is going to be way off topic, this video. And this is a video of America as we know it. And it's just the innocence of we the people, the life we're used to having. And I'm going to show this video because I want you to understand one part of it. This video is the essence of love, creation, God, Jesus Christ, family, community. And the reason I want to show it, we are in extreme jeopardy of losing the innocence of our being as we the people of the United States because of the influx of immigration of people that can care less about our Constitution, because our economic collapse that looks imminent to come. Our way of life will never be this pure and innocent again if we don't get on board, start voting right, start preparing and protecting our assets, and start getting ready to stand for the gospel of Jesus Christ and the love and cohesion of community of we the people. So when I show this video, I just want you to sit back and realize this is something we had, we a lot still have now, but I'm telling you, if this stuff plays out, I don't know the when, but this very essence of America is in jeopardy, and it really tugs at my heart. So watch this video and you'll see what I mean. A lot of you aren't going to get that, but I want you to sit back and think about it, because this is how important the basic innocence, the fabric of we the people of the United States, and how much we are in jeopardy, not just by the crashing of our dollar, but by the pure destruction of our Lord Jesus Christ as our Savior. We have in the halls of Congress statues of Moses, the Ten Commandments. Yet we have a progressive, liberal, communist, socialist wing in this country destroying the very essence of God. We have a Common Core education system that argues belief. Do you believe they actually say in the Common Core questions that stealing isn't always wrong? Because it depends on your belief system, they said. Because what they're doing is attacking truth. Truth is unalienable, given to us by God. Our innocence as a nation, we are trusting, we are hoping, and we are loving, and we're getting ready to lose it if we don't pay attention. So sit on that video and really think about what I'm trying to say. And if you don't think what I'm saying is true, you'll probably find out when it's too late. I'm just merely trying to say, get prepared. If we can stand in unity as we the people of Jesus Christ and help those that don't see understand the truth, we have a chance of saving our world and our country, mainly our country when I say our world. And so get educated, and here's a good place to start.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, the reason why this is so important is because if we have, there's two components here in economic collapsing. When people say, oh, there's an economic collapse coming, there's an economic, we've been seeing it on the internet, you've been hearing it all over, prophets have been prophesying. I understand all of that. But there's really two areas where we need to focus on an economic collapse. There's one which you're seeing kind of play out right now, which is really just a stock market correction. A market, could even be a market collapse for that matter, like we had in '08, which would be basically like a recession, a heavy recession, which we're already in, by the way. The numbers are a lie.
The stock market's going to have to correct more than what it's already corrected in the U.S., hasn't it? I mean, it's way inflated.
It's going to, and it's going to be heavy, but that's still only one part of what I'm saying.
Sure.
The stock market correction, even if it corrects half, is it bad? Yes. But that's still not what I'm talking about. What I'm showing in the video was the innocence of our nation getting ready to be ripped away. Because the stock market crash isn't going to cause what I'm talking about, you see. We can crash the stock market, we can have an '08 recession, we can have a lot of loss of employment, we can have a lot of emotional, personal tragedies within our families and friends, which I've seen in '08, and I'm sure you have too. People in the church, families in the church losing their homes, losing their jobs. That's not what I'm talking about. This is how incredible this is, Charles. That's already bad enough. What I'm saying, that's not it. I know. You're wondering what the next one is, isn't it?
So what's the next?
I know. I can tell you're like looking at me going, what do you mean? That is already about as bad as it can get. And that's not what I'm talking about. One thing to have a stock market crash. We've had them before. We had it in 9/11, the Shemitah years, the perfectly timed crashes. We had it, we recovered, printed more money. They did some tactics, tricks, and shenanigans, and they pull us back out, right? That's what most people think. Oh, it's okay, we'll get through it. We always do. Okay, so we have another stock market crash. I agree that what Charles said. It's going to happen worse. What we have going on right now is definitely getting worse. We are definitely going to see a bigger stock market crash. I'm talking a big one. But we're already in recession towards a depression right now.
Some people say, well, it doesn't bother me because I don't have any money in the stock market.
Your job, your company.
Well, I know that, but I mean, that's what some people think. They think, well, I don't have any money in the stock market, so how could that bother me?
Because the companies you work for, your job may lay you off. You're not going to have the same income. You won't be able to afford your mortgage payments, buy food for your family.
Everything business-wise in the United States of America is connected in some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
Plus our currency system is connected to the stock market. So it is going to affect everyone. My point is that just because you don't have money invested in the stock market doesn't mean that it's not going to affect you when it corrects.
Right. And now I'm going to finish off here with what I'm really talking about. That's already horrible enough. What I'm saying is the real component of the economic collapse isn't the stock market. It's the loss of the petrodollar. It's the loss of our dollar reserve system. as a dominant currency. It's the loss of influence. It's the destruction of a dollar, whether it collapses by more than half or we replace it with a new one. It's our standard of living. It's our way of being. If we crash as hard as I believe is coming, we're going to have such social unrest in this country. You think what rioting was going on before. You haven't seen anything. When you see the economic collapse, I'm talking about when the dollar collapses. Stock market's one thing. When the dollar collapses, you're talking about massive social unrest. You're talking about not even being able to go out of your house to get food. You better have emergency food and water, because the collapse I'm talking about is 6 months, a year of absolute anarchy, unrest. And you better be prepared to hunker down, because our life will change as we know it. So we're going to get into what that does in our nation, the impact that immigration is going to do to it, and why they're plotting it. You're going to be interested in that one. God bless you. Get that truth in your heart. Find that innocence. And love your children and your neighbors. God bless.
You can see these programs on demand 24/7 at CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Be sure to join myself and Terry next week, same place, same time, right here for more of the Wealth Transfer.
Cornerstone Asset Metals has focused on using gold and silver reserves to protect your assets from volatile currencies. Another hard asset that is just as important for your sustainability is food. We believe that preparation is a key to being successful in an unstable economic environment, so we started Cam Ready Food just for you. The Bible tells us that Joseph used the resources of Egypt to prepare for a global famine by storing up food in a time of plenty. His preparation not only preserved the lives of his family, but many others as well. At Cornerstone, we believe the time is now to re-examine this biblical lesson so that you and your family can be prepared for any disaster, job loss, food shortage, or economic instability. You can start preparing today by visiting our website, camreadyfood.com, because food truly is the ultimate currency. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.